Welcome to the Business Power Hour with Lisa and the Music Man. Live from Studio C at media stations in Bohemia, New York.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Business Power Hour with Lisa and the Music Man. The lovely Lisa cannot be here this evening. She had something special that she had to go and do. So I'm here by myself with my guest. I have a very special guest tonight. And she has a sensational background, career, and I don't even know what the heck it is. But she's going to go and explain it to us. Her name is Kim Sheps. She happens to be, listen to this one, a growth chaser, a life experiencer, and I know for a fact that she's also an entrepreneur. So this is a business show, and we're going to get to that later on in the show. So Kim Sheps, welcome. Good evening.
Hello, Norman.
Hey, what's going to be a good show tonight. Whoa.
Thank you for having me.
Personality. I love personality.
Appreciate that.
That's great. What the heck's a growth chaser?
So in this part of my life, I am literally chasing whatever
Rainbows?
personal growth. Let's put it that way. Doing a deep dive, looking inside, figuring out all of the things that were going right, going wrong, and trying to just live my best life each day.
That's cool. It's a good thing to go and do. Let's go back and let's talk about your life.
Okay.
I don't know too much about you. Actually, I know a lot about you because I've done a lot of research. And when you were a young woman, you were a young girl, what did you want to do? What did you want to be when you kind of like grew up?
Well, if it's okay with you, Music Man, I'm going to take you, I'll take you through my personal story
Please,
that led
go
me up
for
to
it.
here. Okay, so I am a 47-year-old woman. I have two sisters that are twins, and they were born when
They're
I was...
twins?
Twin sisters.
Nice.
They were born when I was about just turning 3. So 3 years old, unexpected twin sisters. And then 3 years later, my grandmother passed away suddenly.
Right. Sorry.
Thank you. I don't remember much about that time, but I do remember that probably at that time, I probably stepped into the role that I had been in for about 45 years, which was a...
Well, hold it. You were just saying you were 3, and where does 45 come from?
So pretty much up until about a year and a half ago, I had been living a certain way, and I like to view my life as before Hurricane Sandy, after Hurricane Sandy, and I'll take you to that part. So I would say I was a people pleaser, pretty much.
Hold it. You're jumping.
Okay.
You were 3 years old. Your grandma passed away.
I definitely caught a vibe that my mom was, I was only 5 years old, but I remember, one of the things I remember was her crying by the stairs. I think at that point I stepped into how can I help?
The big.
Right, be a big sister.
Like the big sister.
Yeah.
Okay. And how old were you when she passed? You said you were 5?
I was just under. She passed in October. I would have turned 6 in November.
So at 6 years of age, you're turning into the big sister role.
Big sister.
That's pretty good. I mean,
yes, it was all
very
good
mature.
until it wasn't.
That's very, very mature. So 6 goes on. You're becoming the big sister. You are the big sister. You're doing the role of the big sister. And now it's 8 or 9. And what were you thinking about doing maybe in the rest of your life?
So I would say let's go to 13. At about 13 years old, there was the unfortunate events of that little girl, Lisa Steinberg, that had passed away.
Right.
I became obsessed with child abuse, let's say, and I made a decision in 8th grade that I was going to be an attorney, and I went so far as to complete 2 years of law school.
You didn't finish? There's only 3 years in law school.
3 years of law school. Like I said, 8th grade decided I wanted to prosecute child abusers. I was 2 years in law school taking a class, half law students, half psych fellows, and I was told that if I was representing a client in a matrimonial case and there was an abusive situation, I would have to conceal that. It kind of went against everything that I
Right, I
believed
can
in. I
understand
literally
that.
broke out into hives. I was engaged. I remember calling my parents in a panic that this is not what I want to do. I thought about psychology, but it was 5 years. And like I said, I was already engaged.
Right.
So I went and I switched and I decided to enroll in a
What
master's
do you mean you
degree.
switched? You just didn't wake up the next day and say, did you just said you got a master's degree.
I pretty much switched.
What kind of master's degree did you get?
So
What were you doing?
instead of completing the third year of law school, I enrolled in a master's of elementary education. I had always wanted to work with kids. The prosecuting child abusers was obviously in a child advocacy role. So I figured I can't do psychology. My father said he wasn't going to pay for me anymore after I got married, which makes sense. And so I decided to enroll in a master's of elementary education.
Tough dad you had, huh?
Well, he supported me for a very long time.
I have to interrupt you just 1 second. I'm
Sure.
sorry. Anyone who would like to call in during the course of the evening, 631-698, not 631-698, wrong, 631-987-8477, 631-987-8477. I'm so thrilled with having you here. Go.
Okay, so I switched and I enrolled in a master's program, which I absolutely loved from the minute I got there to through my student teaching experience. And I actually got hired immediately out of my student teaching experience, and I became a 5th grade teacher.
Locally? Out here on Long Island?
Yes, I worked in the Half Hollow Hills School District. I taught 5th grade. I had 3 classes. I got tenure, and then I became a mom.
You got tenure after 3 years,
Correct.
and then you became a mom.
Correct.
And then I would imagine you stopped teaching.
So this is where we start to change a little bit. So
You did stop teaching?
I became a mom. I
Okay.
was on a leave. I was on a leave temporarily. And when it was time for that to be over, I was not ready to go back. So I resigned from my position and my entrepreneurial blood kicked in. And so I tutored, I had a gift business, I made tufted photo albums and picture frames and all kinds of stuff like that.
So this is part of the growth chasing.
Not even yet.
Not okay.
even
This is part of the
yet.
life experience. What part of your area here is this? Where does this fall into?
This is all pre
Growth chaser.
growth chaser.
Okay, so we're in pre-growth space.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm literally on, I would say, the hamster wheel of life.
Oh,
with
that's good.
with
I like that.
not much awareness of what was going on.
With you.
Correct. Big into helping other people, always focusing on what's going on with others. Realizing now, after a lot of growth chasing, that I was distracting.
You
but
were
I was very
distracted,
busy.
or you were distracting?
I was distracting myself from all of the things that I then took a look at. So I became a teacher. I became a mother. I resigned from teaching. I started a gift business.
What kind of gifts?
The picture frames,
Oh,
photo
okay.
albums, etc. So
Okay.
then I had another child, and it wasn't long after she was born. I would say less than 2 years.
So you have a daughter and you have another
I
daughter?
first I
You have
had a son.
Uh-huh.
He's 19 years old, and I have a daughter who is 17 years old.
They in college?
My son's in college. He's going to be a junior at the Ohio State
Ohio
University.
State. Yeah, go.
And my daughter's going to be a senior in high school. We will see where that winds up.
All right.
So
So life's progressing.
life is progressing. I am still not teaching. I'm now a mother of 2. And as you could see by my chatting and energy, I couldn't sit still, but I did not want to go back to teaching. So hence I started a baking business.
Baking.
Baking.
Out of the clear blue sky, you just decided, I'm going to bake a cake.
Well, no, actually, I dropped my daughter off at preschool one day. Another mom asked me if I was baking for the Jewish holidays. I said, sure. And I went home and I put together a list of what I would bake. went back to pick her up, and I had like 20 platters for the Jewish holidays
Wait,
to
you
bake
baked
for.
them?
Baked them,
For other
delivered.
people?
Correct.
And you never
Correct.
baked before? Only except for your family.
So I grew up with a dad we entertained a lot, and he was into cooking and hosting and preparing, and I was always into that. And I am still into all of that kind of stuff. So this was just a natural progression. What turned that into something even bigger was my daughter was, let me back up a little bit. She was having a birthday. I wanted to make her one of those beautiful fondant cakes that looked like a present.
That's the one, yeah, that's all nice and silky looking.
Yes,
and,
it's smooth.
right, that's the
and
key word. That's what I was looking for.
So
right.
I taught myself how to do it. I made her first birthday cake, and at the party, people were asking, where'd you get the cake? Where'd you get the cake? And so just like people were asking, are you going to bake? Are you going to bake? I turned that into a fondant cake company called This Is Delish.
Okay. So you baked for the Jewish holidays. You made this fondant cake, and that became Delish. Because
Yes.
everybody said, well, that's a good name. Actually, this is delicious. And then you took it and turned it into Delish, and that became a bakery or a fondant cake bakery? Or...
So it became a custom fondant cake business, and the last cake I did was for a bar mitzvah in New York City. It was a New York City skyline, and every candle was a taxi cab.
How'd they find you?
Word of mouth. And I could say
How long
now,
were you doing that before you went into Manhattan to do the cake?
this all happened in probably a 6-month period.
In
and
6 months?
I would say so. And I had an amazing opportunity during that time. I had a connection to somebody who worked at Google. They had this incredible cafeteria, let's say, for all of their employees.
Whoa.
And I was invited to be a guest chef
Well,
at the Google New York City
So
offices.
you went from baking for home to making a birthday cake. 6 months later, you go to New York, you take care of this party, and then afterwards, Google says, "Hi, is this Kim Sheps?" And you go, "Yeah," and then he says, "Hi, this is Google." No, who?
So they had this guest
Did he
chef
have a first
opportunity.
name? Jerry Google, Susan Google.
They had this opportunity where you could, if you were recommended by somebody, you could.
Did they ask for a sample?
Well, they asked for all of my ingredient list. I drove into the city. They loaded up my car with all of the ingredients enough to prepare cake for 600 people.
So you went from your family of 4 to baking cakes for 600.
One time, I prepared cake for 600 people at Google. I had 3 cakes on display. I brought both my sisters. It was
Whoa.
a fantastic opportunity.
Did they give you a chef's outfit to wear?
I had a chef's jacket made, but what they did do was they blew up. They asked for a photo of me, and they had a huge. Mario Batali was on the wall. We're talking like professional chefs,
Really?
and I had a blown up
Do you have
picture.
pictures of this? If you did,
in
you
my
should have.
archives.
You should have sent us one beforehand.
If I have the opportunity to be here again, I will most certainly.
Well, if you'd be
share
good
that
to
with
the
you.
people that are on here and bake cakes for them, and they'll want you back.
Thanks,
Okay, so go
Norm.
ahead. So now you got.
So
But-
I was at the point of I'm either opening up my own place, and I had inquired about renting space in other food, let's say, establishments, or I was putting the kibosh on this. And so I decided that I was going to stop doing the cakes. And
Well, opening a bakery is not just something you can do like overnight.
no,
And it costs a fortune to go and do it.
the money, I honestly put on a lot of weight from eating the things I was making, but most importantly, what was bothersome to me was that it was very time sensitive. Everything had to be made, fresh, obviously, detail oriented, and it was with 2 children at home. It was just a little bit
tough.
too stressful.
Right.
So I was due for yet another switch.
So here we go again. So
So-
now what did you do?
So my next and
I hope
pretty
everybody
much-
can keep track of this.
Pretty much the last job I had before I went into the growth chasing, let's say, is I knew somebody who was at a preschool with my daughter. She owned a dental practice. I needed to have a job that made money. I reached out to her. She was familiar with all of the fundraising I had done at
Oh, you
the
did
preschool.
fundraising too.
I did.
All right. So, do you want to mention that and then jump ahead? So let's go chronologically. So you did this fundraising. Who did you raise money for? And if you can mention, how much did you raise?
Sure. So when I started the baking, when I was at the preschool, I was volunteering my time and running the parent or association
PTO
there.
or PTA or whatever.
Whatever organization they had there. I am a change maker, and one of the things I wanted to do was get new playgrounds for them. So we raised over $30,000, and
That's
I was
great.
able to.
You should have called someone like me because I'm a fundraiser. You know that. That's why I'm
That's
the
true.
music man.
That's true. That's true. I'm
you know-
glad our paths crossed.
Yeah, that's nice.
So, hence, I moved forward. I contacted this woman who owned a dental practice. She knew of my reputation because our children were at the same school. She wasn't looking to hire someone, but when I reached out to her, she said, "Come on in."
Mm-hmm.
She hired me. I worked there for about a year, sporadically. And then a year later, she asked me to be the manager of her dental practice.
So now, not knowing anything about dentistry or the business aspects of dentistry, you jump into this thing. That's
That's
pretty
correct. It
That's
was an amazing
Did you have any training?
opportunity.
Did she train you? Did she?
I didn't have any training. I am, part of my inner wiring is self-teaching. I knew this was an opportunity. I learned as much as I could, and I could be a workaholic. So I dove right in, and it took, I worked there for 13 years, and it was an incredible experience.
13 years.
13 years.
So you got to learn all the insurance aspects. You learned to know about business operations and banking and marketing. And did you do fundraising for them too?
So I was
So the
able
answer
to
is yes.
I was able to utilize a lot of my skills in this office. Facebook and social media were just coming up on the rise while I was working here, so learning all about that, most definitely. And then we did a lot of give back in the community. So together in that office, we did continue that fundraising, those efforts that I had started previously, and we raised over $150,000 one year.
Wait a second. You not know what did you do?
We had a party. We had
One party?
One party. It was called Hanging with Heroes. And it was, you purchased a ticket, you came in, we had some entertainment, we had raffle baskets, and we raised over $150,000 for Relay for Life. And that was more than one time. So
And where did you hold such a thing?
actually, once we held it in a restaurant, and then the last time, which was our biggest time, we linked up with Driftwood Day Camp.
Okay. I was at one of these events.
You were?
Mm-hmm. I was at, it was called Hanging with Heroes. I somehow got invited to it. And if that was you that did this, that was outstanding. The place was, that was,
Thank
okay.
you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Really?
Thank you.
Small world. Go ahead.
So to bring it back to how you introduced me as a growth chaser, life experiencer, I was working at this office for quite some time. I would say in 2018, and I heard you recently mention on one of your episodes around the time that you got sick, I started to myself feel like I wasn't where I was supposed to be. I want to back up, and because I mentioned Hurricane Sandy, so let's go from that point forward. Hurricane Sandy for me was pretty traumatic. My husband had just started a new job. He was in Texas. Right before the storm got crazy, a tree fell on my house, and we were told to leave. I had to call my husband at a brand new job training and say, "Excuse me, by the way, who's our homeowner's insurance?" He said MetLife. I hung up the phone, made a call to them, and that was the beginning of me changing, I would say, the trajectory of my entire life. I started to actively and intentionally go from a real negative mindset to
Why was your
something more
mindset
positive.
so negative? You were so into everything and being successful at it. Why was it negative?
Great question, Norman. I didn't realize until I started to come into contact with some different ideologies that opened my mind and gave me some more awareness. I was negative. I think I was very critical of myself. Even though I was a high achiever, I was constantly critiquing whatever it was I did. If my boss would call me, I would automatically assume she was calling because I did something wrong.
Negative.
And I had to get out of that. And that took, so Hurricane Sandy happened. I wound up coming in contact with this gentleman. I mean, I'll say it. His name is Joel Osteen. A lot of people like him, a lot of people don't. But for me, I heard a voice on the radio, didn't know who I was listening to, started, let's say, believing in myself, and I started changing my mindset. And that lasted for quite some time. And then I heard you also mention something like this on an episode. I started to see these repeat numbers. And I would
That
look
was a
at
couple of weeks back.
I would look
Being
at
at
the
the
clock.
Congo
Yes,
Whisperer
you
on.
had the whisper on and energy and all of that kind of stuff. And so I would be at work. I would look at the clock on my phone. It would say 1:11, but my Apple Watch would say 1:18. I was at one point doing some running, and I would do training runs, and I would look at my watch, and it would say my pace was 11:11. I would drive past a car, and the license plate would say, CJK 1111. And I did some inquiring about it, but whatever I learned about it, these things called angel numbers, I felt I believed it because it was about getting signs that you were on the right path. And this mindset change, it changed my entire life.
So you
but
started to feel better.
I started to feel dramatically different. And then we get to about 2018. And I started to kind of feel sick, let's say. I lost my appetite.
Physically?
Yeah. I wasn't, not enough to go to the doctor, but I knew something was wrong. I was coming home.
Depressed?
I wasn't sure if I was depressed. And then enter COVID. My office closed we closed mid-March, so March to April, May. The office reopened on June 8th. So between March 18th.
June 8th, 2020?
Yeah, so March 18th, 2020, the office closed. I was home for the first time in over a decade for about 2 months.
You mean you were unemployed?
Sort of. I was
Well, you weren't working
I was
anymore.
one of the only employees that was still somewhat working. I was being in touch with all the patients. I was
Oh, you were management, so
I
you
was
did that.
doing that kind of stuff. But
Right.
what you asked me if I was depressed, what I discovered during that time off from walking and listening to podcasts for the first time was that I thought I was burnt out. So I started implementing some boundaries. I would exercise, I would go for walks, I would come home on my lunch break, I would listen to meditations, things like that. Went back to work, and I was there from June 8th, 2020 to July, don't quote me on the date, maybe the 21st, 2021, where I worked up the courage after about 3 years to say to my boss that this isn't working for me anymore. I wanted to be home with my family. I needed to make a change. And so I was saying that come the new year, which was January 2022, I would love to continue this.
Was it January 11th, 2022?
No, it wasn't. It was going to be effective January 1st, but I love that, the 1-1. Thank you. Thank you for
You're quite
for
welcome.
hearing me on that.
I pay attention.
So I put it out there that either I would continue to work for this business, but I would do so from home, or I wouldn't be coming back as of January 1st.
Mm-hmm.
So we came to an arrangement, an agreement, and January 1st, I began my work from home situation.
Of 2023.
2022.
22. Okay.
2022.
So that's a year and a half or so from
Yes.
now. Okay.
Yes. And that was going really well. It provided me the things that I wanted to with my family, and things were good. And then 3 weeks into that arrangement, my mother, who was living in Florida, 69 years old, feeling like flew in town with my sisters.
Right.
And
Why your sisters were there?
So my sisters went there. She wasn't feeling so good. They went to help her out with
Right.
something. They took tests. Everything
Makes
was
sense.
okay.
Right.
They didn't want to leave her there. So they flew back. She came in, the three of them came in on January 21st. So it was 3 weeks after I started. And unfortunately, she died 13 days later.
Oh, wow.
So
That's a bummer. I'm so sorry.
that was the beginning of a major life change, and that was the catalyst for
Okay,
me.
you're going to stop now.
Okay.
Okay, you're going to hold it there. We're going to take a break so we can pay some bills.
Okay.
Okay, so Dylan, hit it. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Hi, everybody. My name is Norman Wasserman, and next to me is Lisa Rodino. Lisa and I host a TV podcast show called The Business Power Hour with Lisa and the Music Man.
So what does the Business Power Hour do? We are here to talk about you and your business. We will put you on air for 1 hour to highlight your business in front of thousands of viewers worldwide, helping you generate more leads to grow your business.
And we do this every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. right here. What are you doing?
I'm keeping you on point. My name is Lisa Rodino. I am a commercial loan advisor and broker. Have you been finding that your business's cash flow is not where you need it to be? Have you found yourself taking from your personal accounts to meet your business's obligations? Have you found that those quick solutions of quick money are starting to get awfully expensive? My job is to find the right funding products for my clients so they can get back to working in their business and give me the task of finding the best options for their situation. Give us a call today to learn more. 516-268-0350.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Friend Entertainment USA. My name is Norman Wasserman. I am also known as the Music Man. Let me just tell you a little bit about Friend Entertainment. We put on concerts for charities, and we do that everywhere from New York to Las Vegas. We do R&B, Motown, rock and roll, jazz, whatever it is that you wish. Friend Entertainment will deliver the best of the best for you and your charity. Here are some of the names of the talent that have performed with us on our stage. Stevie Wonder, Tina Turner, The Temptations, Earth, Wind and Fire, the one and only ELO, Elton John himself, Kool and the Gang, and the fabulous Donna Summer. Go to our website, friendentusa.com. That's www.friendentusa.com, or feel free to call us at 631-698-9696. 631-698-9696, and we'll see you at the next show.
We're back.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Business Power Hour, and our guest, Kim Sheps, who is a growth chaser, a life experiencer, and an entrepreneur. And I guess sooner or later during the course of the evening, we're going to jump to that, because that's always the best part for me. I love business, so I'd love to hear about that. But I'm sorry to say that your mom had passed away. And that's where we left off at the break. So why don't you continue from there?
So my mom unfortunately passed away. It was, if I could say that a grief situation or a death situation could be good, I feel like I got the best that I could get. I was with her the whole time until she passed away, and my whole life she told me that she was with both of her parents when they passed away. So
Mom sounds like a nice lady.
she was a very special person. So many of my qualities that I'm really proud of, I got from her. And this would be a perfect lead-in to say that, surprise, this is my dad. And some of the other qualities that I am so proud of,
That was unscripted.
I've gotten from this man right here. And so because of the changes that I made when my mom passed away, and because of the joy and, let's say, depth of what I want to get out of this life, especially after losing my mom, is pretty much the reason why I'm sitting here across from my dad right now. And I'd like to share how this even came about. So one of the things that I struggle with is reaching out to people. As a rehabilitated people pleaser, let's say, asking other people for help is not something I'm good at. So I've been practicing a lot of things, and one of those things is trying to build a deeper relationship with my dad. And so I was coming back from the beach one morning, and I gave him a call, and he said he was around the corner from my house getting a shave. So I decided that,
I love getting a shave.
I know you
Every
do.
couple of weeks, I just disappear for a while.
He's been loving getting a shave since I'm a little girl. But so I decided that I wanted to see my dad, and he was around the corner. So I walked right into the barber shop. And at that moment, we took some selfies, and he was finishing up his shave. And he said to me, I have a really great idea, and I'd like you to be on my podcast, my show. And I said to him, well, I think that's a great idea, because just this past May, and so we're only talking a few months ago, I have went into an area that is very similar to my dad. And I have, let's say, rebranded myself as a growth chaser, life experiencer, trying to encourage people to build real authentic connections with the people that they're in relationships with. And this is an opportunity for me to tap into an area that I know feels right to me, but I've
Hold
never...
on 1 second. We're getting a call. Hold on a sec. Good evening. Welcome to the Business Power Hour. Who's calling, please?
Yes, my name is Adam.
Hey, Adam. How are you?
Hey, how are you, sir?
Okay. Nice to meet you.
Likewise. I just wanted to say, first-time caller, long-time listener.
Welcome.
Thank you. I just wanted to say what Kim is mentioning really hits home, and there's one thing I want to say to her, and that's OH.
I-O!
Go Bucks! Go Bucks!
Go Buckeyes!
Have a great show.
So,
Thank you, caller.
Thank you, Adam.
So we said
Who's
my
he?
son, I don't know, but my son went to Ohio State.
goes
And
to Ohio
if you
State, right?
know Ohio State, that is like an insider thing.
Okay.
If you're walking by somebody and they're wearing an Ohio State thing and you say OH, the person's supposed to say IO.
Well,
so that's
whoever he
cool.
is, it scared the crap out of us. I mean, I'm sure I probably lost all our fans. Oh, I'm sorry for those of you out there. What a wacko! Really? Okay. Well, it's nice that you know some wackos. So as we thank you, Adam, very much for calling. We appreciate that. Okay. So I was in getting a shave. All right. Afterwards we start to talk, and you were going to say something at that time when the phone rang about what you're doing now or something like that.
So I decided to get real. I like to encourage people to find joy. I am literally living each day trying to soak up as much as I can, and part of that is embracing some challenging things. Doing things that aren't so comfortable for me, making my needs known, even to my dad. And we have had an opportunity to have our relationship get deeper. And the crazy thing is, I was so close to my mom, and we had such a wonderful relationship. And one of the things that I'm finding the most interesting is that I could be so missing her and sad that she's gone. And at the same time, I feel like I've been reborn. And I am doing things that I know if she were here, I wouldn't have been challenged to do.
Mm-hmm.
And
I get that.
I want to say to all of those people like Adam, who is a longtime listener, Those people who know Norman. And I wore this sequin shirt to be a little showy because every time he does something, he would come in a bright blue sequin something. So I figured
have
I
some
would
sequin
show up.
jackets,
I
right.
would show up like he shows up. But one of the most incredible things that I have learned from the guy sitting across from me is that no matter what, you keep going. And I have unfortunately just experienced the greatest loss I have ever had in losing my mom. And I'm fortunate to have made it through 46 and a half years without having such substantial loss. But I know that what I have with my dad now is something that is so much deeper that I didn't even know was possible without doing this work.
I always told you. You didn't believe me. So I tried always to teach my kids to try. And it's okay to fail, but you're going to kick yourself in your butt if you don't try and find things out, which you're doing. You're trying things out to see what's good for you, how to make yourself a better person and create better relationships and so on, and that's good. So that's enough of that, because now we're going to go, because that clock is ticking.
All right. So,
Okay, so we got to get back on course
business
again.
Father. So
it's okay.
I will give you a little teaser. I have a lot of entrepreneurial blood. I could see it in my son, so it must be inherent. But I am going to give you just a little teaser in that I'm about to do a soft launch of a granola company.
Now, where did this come from? The cakes?
So it probably came from some Norman blood inside of me. My love for food and entertaining and making people feel good never died.
I was a good cook, wasn't I?
You're a great cook,
Yeah.
and you definitely inspired me in that area. So I have been out of full-time work a year and a half. I should mention that my love of teaching came back in my life when I started subbing again this year and re-found the joy in the classroom, which was great. But I want to be my own boss, and I have big...
Didn't you have some Teacher of the Year type of thing, too?
I was nominated for Disney Teacher of the Year.
Disney?
I was, and I'm still in touch with, I would say, at least 5 of my students from 20 plus years ago.
Really?
I'm
See,
a
that's a
bond
compliment.
maker. Yes.
That's a compliment to you.
And now some of them are moms. So for it to come full circle and just to see them 20 years later, it's incredible. So I am channeling my entrepreneurial blood into this new Feel Goodies granola. And if you would like to have
Feel Goodies?
Feel Goodies, yes. You could feel good about it.
Show it to everybody. Show what it looks like.
It looks like this. It is
I like chunky granola. Do you make chunky granola too?
It's as chunky as you want to make it. It's multi-purpose.
Well, you're the one making it, so I'm asking.
I'm saying you can apply it. You can eat it as a snack.
No, I want to buy it.
You can buy it. You can eat it as a snack. You can put it on a smoothie. You can put it on a yogurt.
What's the ingredients?
So there's only a few ingredients in there. It's gluten-free oats. This is a gluten-free product. It's dairy-free.
Is there any special reason why because that's important nowadays? Is that it?
It is important, but more and more people have gluten issues.
Absolutely. And there's supermarkets all over the place. They have sections and sections of gluten-free products.
My husband and my mother-in-law were just recently diagnosed with celiac, so it's of more importance to me now. But the granola has gluten-free oats, unsweetened coconut, almonds, pure maple syrup, coconut sugar, coconut oil, vanilla, and salt. We are going to have an Instagram launch, and I can't wait to tell you more about it, Norman.
I mean, you're going to have to, since I know the boss, I'll have you come back again. This is interesting. I'm going to give you a little, okay, forget it. I'm going to open this up.
Go for it.
If this was the Shark Tank, okay, you should become prepared with little cups of whatever, and you're going to tear this open.
So you'd be proud of me. So Sunday was our official, public presentation, let's say.
I'll find another way to open this bag.
It's resealable. It has a zipper. You're going to open it.
I'm trying to open it.
So this way.
Hope I can open before the show's over.
You want me to help
Yeah, good. Do
Okay,
that.
I will do that. But we attended our first market on Sunday, and we had free samples there, and we will have free samples elsewhere. But people tried it, they loved it. We actually sold all the bags that we brought with us at this event, and it was exciting.
Would you have
And
about
so
100 bags or so? 100, 200
we gave
bags?
out 100 samples, and it was a great response. It was a great response.
That's good. Let's give it a taste.
Go for it.
You can't have any. I got
So
some.
now would be a good time for me. I wanted to bring you a little present. So something you might not know about my dad, he attended Yankee Fantasy Camp. He was a huge baseball player. And to wrap this up, one of the most special memories that I have,
Good.
thank you, with my dad is I used to go watch him play softball on Sunday mornings. We would go to 7-Eleven. I'd get a buttered roll, hot chocolate, and sit and watch him. And like I said, he went to Yankee Fantasy Camp. I wanted to bring him something special. And today I found this, and it says,
I think I know what it is.
never let the fear of striking out get in your way.
I used to strike out a lot. How beautiful.
Well, you didn't strike out with me, Dad.
Well, I thank you.
and
I
I'm
thank
proud of
everybody.
you.
I am a very fortunate man. I have 3 daughters. I have 2 stepsons. I have all-inclusive 7 grandchildren. And I've had Kim's mom was a love of my life. My wife now, I'm married 23 years. I'm very lucky to have 2 women in my life that love me and I love them. So all the things that you talk about, I see me. You know, I tried to teach you whatever, because I had a really bad childhood, as you know, and whatever. From my mom dying at 10 years of age or so on. But anyway, I'm very blessed to have daughters like this. I have another daughter who works for 2 daughters that work for 2 major companies. They've all done very well. And as a parent, you don't want anything more than that. You want to see your children succeed. The worst thing, as they got married, they didn't need dad anymore. That upset the crap out of me. There was no reason not to use me.
Well, that's actually not true.
And I would offer all different types of things. And of course, I know thousands of people, and I have someone for this and for that. But I had to let you go. I had to let you go and be your own person, even though it hurt. And eventually, I backed off and whatever. Still don't want to be. That's why you're here. So that's why you're here tonight, to keep this thing going on. Stop crying. You don't know crying. Dilly, you got a tissue?
Who's crying?
Okay.
This is one time I'm actually not crying.
All right.
Usually
so that's
when
it.
we are together.
So this is really very, very good. We're going to make a ring. Why don't we do this, okay? I want anybody who gets in touch with me, my number, 631-698-9696. You tell me that you watch the show, you give me your address, and I will send you a free bag of this. All right, just for you can try it and see what happens, and you call me and you give me your comments on what it is, and so on. So that's really good. So now you got this in how many stores?
We're in a couple stores, and we're in chats with a couple of other stores. So I'll report back those details on a follow-up episode.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. You're weaseling your way back in here again. Is that it?
Why
okay,
not?
now you also do podcasts.
So I can say that I have been a guest twice on a podcast called Happy Place for Your Mind. I believe the episode that I did on parenting with another gentleman, a dad, who has 2 sons, I believe that's going to air on Monday. I'll send you the link to that.
What is it about?
So I have been seeing a therapist weekly for about 1.5 years. She is a phenomenal person, and she has really been a catalyst for my growth. So she is on social media. She has a podcast. It's right now the podcasts are patients of hers who have had significant growth and their life experiences. And so, like you just said, parenting is ongoing. I am parenting right now a 17-year-old and a 19-year-old, and I don't want to happen to me what my dad just described happened to them. So I am trying to learn and grow as they are learning and growing with their age, and see how my role as a parent is going to change over time. And I'm encouraging all parents and grandparents out there, if you have loved ones that you're in relationship with, talk more, make intentional time to be together. I've been a witness to see that life is short, and I'm trying to get all that I can for as long as I can.
You're doing a pretty good job. Do a pretty good job.
I had some good role models.
Thank you. I think I was one of them. But isn't there something else that you're doing also with aren't you on somebody's show more often than none? Am I mistaken? You're like a therapist person that has a podcast.
That's what I was just talking about. But now on my own, so as of May.
Let's give her a plug. You want to continue? Give her a plug?
Sure.
Give her a plug.
Her name is Rachel Pedone, and you can find her at Happy Place
Spell her
for the
last name.
Mind. Sure. So it's Rachel, and it's Pedone. And she can be found on Instagram, Happy Place for Your Mind. She's got a podcast. I mean, all this social media, people gripe about it, but we can learn so much. I personally have gotten so much by way of mental health, let's say, and information that has just enhanced my life so much. So her and I together, I have also, as of May, started posting. So if you want to follow me and become a growth chaser and a life experiencer yourself and hear about parenting and grief and life and tools.
You take messages. I mean, you actually talk to people, right?
I do. So you can find me at Mama Sheps, Mama Sheps. My last name is up on the screen. And
SCHEPPS.
I have funny videos. I have crying videos. You will see me experiencing life as it is, the good times, the hard times, the tools I'm using, journaling, books that I've read, anything to try to get more societal change so that we can be more aware and more open so that our relationships, when we're in the room with somebody, it's not just being in the room with them. There's depth and
life is very short. And for some people, it's shorter than it is for others. So what my daughter Kim is saying and what you do every day in your lives are really important, whether it's your personal life or your business life. I'm from the school where I'm a giver. I've always been a giver. I'm not a taker. I'm a giver. And I still give. I give through my entertainment business, which is fundraising. I give in my network world, which is also helping people's lives and helping their business grow. And that's what it is. And that's what this show, the Business Power Hour, is really all about. And that's how it got started, 6 years ago. And, thousands of people that tune in and watch. So we're going to wrap things up pretty soon. Is there anything else you want to say about this or anything else? By the way, your fondant cakes were great. They really were very, very sick.
Thank you.
And they were big.
Thank you so much.
They were really, really good. And you are a good cook and all this other kind of stuff. So that's it.
I would just say that thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure.
And I know that when we sit opposite each other and I'm doing this work for myself, that you're responding to that in a way that's making me feel closer to you. And this is something now that I will never forget.
Oh, good.
So thank you.
So that's what we want it to be. So that's it. So this is good. You're not taking that home.
No, that's yours. Share with Dylan and the rest of your friends.
Oh, well, Dylan I'll share it with.
Excellent.
Because Dylan is the best. So we thank you very much for tuning into the Business Power Hour tonight. And I hope you got something out of my daughter and some interesting facts that will help you and your life. And you'll understand a little bit more where this business came from, what my fundraising business is all about. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Tuesday, don't forget, next week, Tuesday, and then Thursday again at the Business Power Hour with Lisa and the Music Man. And on that, we say goodnight. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
The Business Power Hour with Lisa and the Music Man is sponsored by Media Stations. Create your own media and have your own station. To get started with your own content, call or text 516-448-2066. That's Media Stations in Bohemia,